We just attended one of the largest Bitcoin conferences, and the topic of discussion there was stablecoins rather than Bitcoin. According to CNBC, stable currencies were the main attraction at Bitcoin 2025. This is what the key figures stated. Of course, I made a video on JD Vance. In fact, he supported the Genius Act to regulate stable currencies and referred to them as a force multiplier for the US economy. The entry of banks and brokers into the stablecoin market is being made possible by the SEC's retreat from strict enforcement. According to the CEO of Tether, stable coins are the way that cryptocurrency will reach the half of the world's population that banks do not adequately serve. Now pay attention, stable coins are the subject of a lot of activity. I have been discussing them. Stable coins have been my focus. In fact, a lot of people are quite concerned about stable currency, genuinely fear stable coins because they believe that they totally negate the value of these underlying assets, such as XRP or even XLM. And that's just absurd in my opinion. We're simplifying payment systems to guarantee US dollar supremacy or worldwide domination for decades to come, though I'll discuss that in a moment. Bohine sent this. Furthermore, he stated that the incorporation of stablecoins into the U.S. financial system may open up trillions of dollars in demand for U.S. debt worldwide. The Genius Act, a Senate measure that would create the first thorough regulatory framework for stable currency issuers, must pass in order for those goals to be realized. After weeks of talks with Democrats, Cynthia Lummis informed the Bitcoin 2025 crowd that the bill would go to a CLO vote on Monday. We believe we have a final agreement. This will be the first piece of legislation pertaining to digital assets to pass the U.S. Senate if it is approved. History will be made. Will that be completed next week then? Is it likely that that will be formally pushed to the green light on Monday? We're not sure, are we? It certainly might. Well, but we'll have to wait and see. First place. However, if we go down here and read the next quote, we'll see that stablecoin issuers will be buying U.S. treasuries at a time when that is very necessary. In addition to mentioning that they are the world's largest stable cocoa issuer and one of the top buyers of U.S. treasuries worldwide, it solidifies the U.S. dollar's position as the world's reserve currency. In addition, we have cryptocurrency, which is all about people. We have a couple other quotations here about how Wall Street banks want to introduce stablecoins, such JP Morgan and Bank of American City as well. He remarked, "Let's bring the value to them regarding stablecoins. Large banks don't seem to matter anymore. Closed-loop systems, sometimes known as private blockchain networks, are used by several of them. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to a lot of things. The fact that it is a walled garden is undoubtedly a drawback. Additionally, there are numerous inefficiencies surrounding them. The advantages include the fact that it is far more secure and that they have complete control over it, which is something that the large banks undoubtedly desire. However, I do believe that established businesses that are producing reliable coins such as Ripple will outperform banks, and it really comes down to the trust issue, in my opinion. So I think that's coming. Well, but a lot of our rivals claim that Tether caters to this unbanked market. Therefore, I do believe that moving forward there will be a lot more clarity and regulation supporting stable coins. After all, half of the world's population shouldn't be classified as a niche. However, what it does for the US is the main focus here. Of course, the US dollar is not the only stable coin that comes to mind. Well, but one stable coin tokenization accounts for 1% of the US dollar supply. We do begin to see all of the money traveling on the chain at this point. Additionally, it's where I believe that many of these networks will start to release trillions of dollars. Many of these networks, in my opinion, will begin to expand dramatically as stablecoin volume and adoption increase. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, should we be worried that this will essentially render XRP and other Assets worthless? No, I don't believe so. Actually, the gas token and the underlying network support several stablecoin use cases. It's the XRPL and XRP in this instance. Therefore, I'm not really worried about that. As stable currencies continue to expand and become a more significant part of the financial system, I believe that the underlying networks will begin to see much more increased growth and value. In addition, Ripple emphasizes the contribution of RLUSD to the $31.6 trillion expansion trillion market for cross-border payments. The rapidly growing cross-border payments market and its growing role in it have been explained by Ripple. Here, the Ripple blockchain giant disclosed in a recent cross-border payments guide how its products, XRP and RLUSD, which power the Ripple payments network, can soon enhance the cross-border payment system. Within the next 10 years, this market is expected to reach a volume of 50 trillion. The market is currently worth 156 trillion, estimated to be more than $250 trillion by 2027. Thus, it's a huge industry and market. According to the document, the payments market achieved a remarkable volume of 31.6 trillion in 2024. That's simply volume now. That is merely volume. That might be readily transferred on the network using stable currencies, which is already the case, not actual worth. And down here, Ripple puts RLUSD and XRP on the table for payments. By utilizing XRP and launching the RLUSD stablecoin, Ripple Payments hopes to significantly alter the global cross-border payments market. As of late, Ripple has eliminated the Nostrov system and all middlemen from the payment process, settling payments on brand new blockchain rails. Once more, this is a significant amount of volume and value. Will it now have an instantaneous and overnight effect? No. However, this only serves to highlight the potential threats that might potentially affect the XRP ledger. Furthermore, we also have Jungle Inc. over here. Overnight, trillions are moving to XRP and RLUSD. Boom. According to this White House, CryptoZor, a stable currency, will allow the US Treasury to access trillions of dollars. Indeed, trillions will be unlocked by this. Trillions of dollars will also be reinvested in cryptocurrency. Why am I saying that? The White House is able to access strategic reserves, you name it, since all of this money is instantly unlocked. And due of the connection to RLUSD and even to Ripple, a US-based firm that has met with this admin on several occasions, even before the election, I think XRP will undoubtedly be a part of it. Stablecoins aren't the future, they're the present. Cynthia Loomis stated on May 22nd, adding that digital assets can facilitate payments 365 days of the year without the extra cost. The Genius Act is a game changer for everyone, from major corporations in New York City to small businesses in Cheyenne. The Genius Act is a landmark in our approach to digital finance, and it preserves the institutions that have been serving our country for decades. Digital assets are the way of the future, and it is our duty to make sure that the United States remains at the forefront. The unsettling truth is that our payment system is out of date. When a small business owner in Cheyenne uses a traditional payment system to send a payment to a supplier overseas, they face up to 10 days and 5% transaction fees. This is not only inconvenient, but it is a complete disadvantage for American businesses. Many of our financial rails date back to the 1970s and 1980s, before the internet revolutionized our way of life and work. When we consider what stable coins can do for the traditional payment system, it's a huge difference. Ripple and XRP have been concentrating on this for a long time. Digital assets changed all of that. Stable coins can complete these same transactions in seconds at a fraction of the cost, 365 days a year. As I have mentioned in the last few years, Nostrovashro accounts have trillions of dollars attached to them, which is simply money that is trapped in the global financial system for settlements. What's even more bizarre is that cross-border payments are still stuck in the 1960s. All of this can be changed overnight if we simply adopt digital assets and stablecoins within the system. I do believe that this is something that will happen. Once the Genius Act is fully passed, the settlement times, the fees, and everything else are just absurd, not to mention all of the payment failures and lack of transparency. Once more, what is the timeline for this? Well, we don't know exactly when it will be fully passed through, but we do know that it could happen soon. Could it happen on Monday? It could definitely happen on Monday. Could it happen next week? It could definitely happen next week. I think this is going to be a huge game changer. We even have the Genius Act over here from May 29th, which may cement the US dollar dominance and digital economy because it is, giving us that clarity on stable coins. Many people are predicting that we will have stable coin legislation by the end of August or even before August. That is definitely a possibility. Additionally, a May 29th report by Foresight Ventures suggests that the passage of the bill could solidify the US dollar's dominant position in the Web3 economy. It's providing us with clarity on the backing compliance and everything we need regarding stable coins, and it's a crucial component of the entire digital asset economy. The Genius Act is the first step toward bringing in a unified set of crypto regulations globally, as other jurisdictions seek to emulate the regulatory actions of the largest economy in the world. This is because, once again, if we get this right, and the US makes a significant push forward, we could see a significant acceleration of the adoption of stable coins within the system. The world watches when the United States takes a stablecoin stance. And it's true. I believe that the United States will push for stablecoin legislation more quickly than other countries, but I also think that this will be a huge deal because once the Genius Act is fully passed, we will see a lot of large banks, companies, and the government of the United States as a whole begin to use stablecoin initiatives and speed them up. However, we really look at RLUSD because it is beginning to grow significantly. As of the 22nd, we have 323 plus million in reserve funds and 310 million in circulating ROUSD, which will increase significantly over the next few weeks and months. However, when we think about ROUSD, stable coins are going to be an all-encompassing thing that will completely overshadow everything. We're thinking about which ones will be successful when we consider this, because, stable coins really represent just digital money. This is the beginning of digital finance and the beginning of fiat currencies moving on-chain in a big way, which will eventually become the next evolution of our financial system. So, where does ROUSD stand in this situation? Well, we're going to talk about that here in a moment. Take a look at this. Is it going to be a ROUSD? What makes ROUSD different from the others? Well, over here on CNBC, Circle doesn't fully comply. Tether isn't even in the US. It's outside the US. They would have to follow the new federal law, right? And nobody is currently following the work we've done in the House or Senate on a Stablecoin Act. Circle doesn't fully comply, and Tether isn't even in the United States. Creating a dollar-backed stablecoin is a crucial strategic move for Trump. Worldwide, there will be multiple competing stablecoins, in my opinion. You see the headlines today that the large banks are considering collectively having a stablecoin. It's outside the US. It wouldn't comply. Therefore, if we have a high standard, the world will come to that high standard for enforcement and for definition. Furthermore, if the Trump coin can meet that definition, then so be it. Do you think it will be disinflationary, meaning it should remove costs from the system? Oh my God, yes. It's a new payment rail, in Web3 on blockchain, to compete with other payment methodologies. I don't think of it as a store of value. Rather, I think of it as debit cash, credit stable coin, or something that consumers or institutions buy. In general, blockchain is what draws me to cryptocurrency, not Bitcoin, but the operating system. Benefits of blockchain, which I believe reduce costs and increase accessibility for consumers. Take a look at Franklin Templeton's tokenized money market account, the Benji. Because the cost has been removed from the system, they are able to offer that to customers at a higher rate and a smaller dollar amount. Now, when we consider all of these stable coins, what really sets them apart from one another? For RLUSD, it's the transparency and compliance aspects, not to mention the fact that Ripple has all of these significant licenses. The largest one comes from the New York Department of Financial Services, which puts Ripple in a whole different league compared to even Circle. The advisory board is also noteworthy. Behind Rod, you can see members from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, the former governor of the Reserve Bank of India, the former chair of the FDIC, and the founding chair of the Systemic Risk Council. This is the reason I keep saying that I'm not worried about Circle or Tether. I believe that Ripple will become a dominant force in the stablecoin market, and that RLUSD will eventually have more capital attached to it than USDC. I also believe that it really comes down to, regulatory clarity and legislation surrounding stablecoins in order to significantly accelerate this market and integrate RLUSD into the system. And because of the volume associated with it, I believe that this will also make XRP and the XRPL extremely valuable. I believe that XRP will become worth trillions of dollars if this legislation is passed, which should happen by the end of the summer. We live in an exciting time, and I believe that holders of XRP should be very focused on this because stable coins are a big part of the puzzle, and it's only the beginning of what's to come. Because once stable coins are adopted and become a big, key piece, it actually unlocks every other use case. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Tokenization, institutional DeFi, you name it. This is just the beginning. I'm really excited about what's coming up. This Genius Act will make history, and we need to pay attention to it. In conclusion, Nick, thank you for watching, and please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If you would like more free content, you can follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord channel in the description below.